Attention, please. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Crypto Night Show. Your host Superman in the house. Well, we've got a lot to talk about today. I mean, it's going to be absolutely chock full of goodies. We're going to pay a tribute, firstly, of course, to Chuck Norris, and he passed away, I think, today. So we're going to look at that. I think he was 83, and we're going to, give him a tribute. Obviously, was a huge movie star in the martial arts against Bruce Lee and all the rest of it, world champion, and of course ended up being one of the biggest memes on the planet as well, and of course some of the best jokes about how tough Chuck Norris is. So it's a big tribute, a big personality, and yeah, so Chuck Norris has passed away today. That's pretty much, we're going to do a little coverage of that later. The one thing I would say, of course, is this is going to be a big show. We're going to be talking about the NASDAQ and the stock market, the crypto market. We're going to get into a lot of news around the crypto market. Then we're going to jump into PulseChain, and we're going to be looking at the Titans, the battle of the Titans on PulseChain, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. So hopefully that gives you a bit of insight into things on PulseChain, and let me know your thoughts, your views on things that you've heard, and add that to the comments. That's what it's all about, sharing the journey together here. Don't forget to subscribe on the way in. We're streaming on 3 YouTube channels: The Crypto Night Show, Superman Crypto, and PulseChain X. Also, if you're on X, don't forget to smash the follows. And talking about X, let's get into some milestone that we reached. So as you guys know, had to start the X channel again, and because the other one was taken down for no good reason, and no appeals. They don't respond to appeals, and so I think I had about 6,500 followers there. So I probably have well into 12 to 15,000 by now. But here we are with we just hit a new milestone on the new channel, and that is 1,500 followers. So I really do thank everybody for support there. So we hit the 1,500 milestone. I do think that as you kind of get bigger, you sort of get bigger faster, kind of thing. You go through different phases. So it was a cool milestone to hit, and we just continue on, right? We continue on there, and that's in a bearish market conditions, right? So that's kind of cool. So thanks to everybody for support. Very, very cool. Now, if you guys haven't joined Strategy Club, I highly recommend it. And of course, you can find the QR code just below me there on the live video show, but you can also find it in the top of X there and through the Whoop store. Whoop is one of the most common platforms to go through, and then you sign up there, just over $1 a day to join up. Really great value, get all the intel, and then you'll jump into the private Discord group there for Strategy Club. You'll also find the links on YouTube in the video description as well. So fantastic value there. There's also general membership, which is $12.50 a month. So you got 2 options there. Right, so let's move on, and let's look at this tribute to Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris, of course, passing away. 86 he was, not 83, 86 years old. Family released a statement after the legend passes away at 86. It is with heavy hearts that our family shares the sudden passing of our beloved Chuck Norris yesterday morning. While he would like to keep the circumstances private, please know that he was surrounded by his family and was at peace. He lived his life with faith, purpose, and an unwavering commitment to the people he loved. Though his work, discipline, and kindness, he inspired millions around the world and left a lasting impact in the lives of so many. This is the most recent video of Chuck Norris on his feed, of course, dated March the 10th. As we grieve this loss, we kindly ask for privacy for our family during this time. Thank you for loving him with us. So there we go. That's Chuck Norris there. That was his last video, apparently, in March. They're doing some martial arts. Now, the one thing about it is some people are saying he's so tough, he might rise from the dead. I don't know. A little bit cheap shot, but yeah, not Chuck Norris. It is Chuck Norris, unfortunately, but he's with the Lord now. So there we go. What else do we got? Hexcavator in house there. Hey gang, good to see you, Hexcavator. Welcome to the chat there as well. Rip Boogeyman, Chuck Norris is coming for you. Yeah, that's right. That's indeed. So there we go. A great guy, and was a big supporter of Trump too, and decency and common sense. So and a man of faith. So very, very cool. All right, so that's Chuck Norris. We've got obviously the stock market right now. Nasdaq slides 2%. The S&P 500 posts 4-week losing streak. So 4 weeks losing streak as Iran conflict escalates. Well, is it escalating or is it in many ways de-escalating? We're going to talk about that. We got the Dow Jones is down 1%, 444 points to 45,576. So definitely getting a haircut on the old 401ks right now. And remember, a month ago we were up at 49,500. We're now at 45,600, let's say. So we're down about 4,000 points. So a pretty decent correction there. We got the S&P 500 is down 0.5%, 100 points to 6,500. And a month ago, we were up around 6,900. So we're down about 400, just over 400 points on the S&P 500. The Nasdaq there at the moment is down 2% today, so a big down day, 443 points to 21,600. And about a month ago we were at 23,100. So what's that? 350, 400. So down about 1,500 points, I guess, as we were there. US dollar at the moment still looking relatively strong at 99. Remember when Trump came in, it was 108 on the US index versus the trading partners, up a little bit there, so not overly high. US the VIX, the volatility index, up 11% to 26 there. So that's kind of where we are, and that's not too bad either actually. Moving to commodities, we got West Texas at just under $95. That's at down 1%. And we got Brent oil there at $112, still pretty elevated, up 3% there. Gold at the moment just absolutely shaving off, and we're down at 4,574, down $30. And silver has broken down below $70 there at 69. And we got that's pretty much it on those. So I hope people took profits on those, which is what I was saying when it was really elevated. Remember that? So to take profits, if you got gold and silver, start taking profits. Once silver hits the $75 at a 125 range there. All right, so that's pretty much it. Obviously, we had a lot of risk-off sentiment, and let's get into a little bit about here. Now, there's a number of things that will probably happen. Trump's talked about today in a gaggle there at the White House lawn in front of the media that the war may be wrapping up soon. When I say soon, it could be a week or two. They are basically down to the tactical level now. So they're using, Warhogs, airplanes, and attack helicopters, being very tactical and targeting. You won't expect really any land invasion of the mainland, barring special forces maybe on certain things. But actually, the Karg Island is probably where the Marines might end up going. So that's a possibility. They may do Marines there. That would be something they would be able to do probably fairly quick. And so that's basically 90% of the oil access and revenue for the regime, what's left of it anyway. So the lower troops, there's lots of those, but in the command centers, but actually there's a lot of all the big leaderships all being absolutely massacred for the most part. So that's pretty much Trump's basically saying we've basically won the war in the sense that they destroyed the Air Force, the Navy, a lot of the rockets and drone capacities, and that's basically what they're doing, just going 24/7, going around blowing up anything they can find, and that's basically it, because they've got complete air superiority. So that's really weakening Iran. Now Iran has still got the options of terrorist cells doing terrorism outside of Iran, so they still have those options, and so they've been threatening those. But the problem that Iran faces is this: they faced a two-side war, one against the Americans and the Israelis, the other one against their own people. So over 80%, maybe up to 90% of the people hate the Ayatollah regime and Islamic extremism. Obviously, that regime has murdered probably hundreds of thousands of Iranians over the last 47 years. And so what we might very well see is as Trump finishes up, destroying much of the whatever's left of the military hardware, the stuff that really makes a big impact, and that we see actually he withdraws that, secures the Strait of Hormuz with a kind of an escort service, and then controls the Craig Island with the oil revenue, and therefore suffocates the regime money-wise. So he may do that one. That's still to be seen. And then, of course, the regime then faces their own people, and they're pretty damn weak by that time. They have a lot of tactical stuff, stop zones and things like that. And they've still got the machine guns and things like that. But maybe we start to see the resistance movements with the king start moving, or the prince, I think it is, start moving inside Iran piece by piece in the coming weeks. So that's probably what we could reasonably see happen there. Let alone what's happening with the Strait of Hormuz and oil. So that's kind of the lay of the land right now. And so we'll see where that goes to in the next week or two. Obviously, the war's going to be a little bit longer than 3 weeks or something. But Trump's not going to go back for a third time. I don't see Trump going back for a third time. He's going to try and clean this up to a point where the regime is extremely weak, and they're going to face the other front, which is the front of their own people. And when you kill hundreds of thousands of your own people just because they want freedom and protest, and you've been oppressing them for 47 years, you can imagine some of the justice that they're going to want to reap. It's going to be a pretty interesting place there in the next couple of weeks. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. And maybe we'll get the CIA funneling a few weapons. We'll see what happens in that front. Obviously, funneling weapons is always an issue. But the Persian people want to be free, so let's see what happens there. What else we got? That's kind of some of the big stuff there. Looking at the Treasury yields, obviously we've got ongoing a bond sell-off at the moment. That started at the beginning of the attack. And so on. But, typically, there'll be, things get sold off at the beginning of the war. It's a little protracted. Things get a bit sold off, but actually there's a lot of big growth story for the United States, right? The United States got a big growth story. It's all the countries around the world that have the issue. Most of the stuff that goes through the Strait of Hormuz is not for the United States. They're a net exporter, and that was under Trump too, right? So that was under Trump. And it's China and India, Japan, and the Europeans that get most of their oil through the strait. So, that's really, even though they were, wanting to keep away from it, they then want to, they're probably going to be, they've sort of turned around, and we'll probably see a lot of ships. To police the strait, you need a lot of ships, right? Obviously, the US has aircraft carriers, and they can do all sorts of stuff. But to, make sure you're not got a random drone sneaking through, those are sort of things you need lots of ships for. What else did we got? Orez in the house. Good to see Orez. We got Brennan as well. Howdy super. I took the plunge on PRVX. Send it to RH. Send to RH. That's funny, man. Well, funny. I did a Fibonacci retracement yesterday because it was rolling over on the chart. And when I saw that big sell the other day, almost half a billion PRVX, which we'll talk about later. It started rolling over with the lower lows, and then it actually ended up hitting the Fibonacci target I said of 9,000, which was funny yesterday. Nostradamus, man, Nostradamus. All right, so that's kind of where we are right there. It's continues to be about oil and interest rates, and both are moving higher today. Rising yields are now at their highest level since last August, pressuring rate-sensitive areas like utilities and real estate. While elevated oil prices keep geopolitical concerns front and center. And some countries more than others, particularly the countries that are net zero, all these leftist progressive countries that are destroying the West, they follow that net zero. They're the ones particularly facing a lot of stress. And, are they going to run out of oil and things like that, petrol and all that sort of stuff. Can you get oil, first of all? Do you have enough refineries? You've got all that sort of stuff. And, of course, the net zero thing was getting rid of all the fossil fuels, right? And that's put them in a pretty bad situation. For markets to regain their footing, some stability in oil prices in the 10-year Treasury will likely be needed. There we go. So that's kind of some of the stuff that's happening there. Obviously, the US may deploy Marines on the Krag Island there. What else we got in the house there? Qatar said that because they got hit in their natural gas site, that their gas production their export production is down 70%, so obviously impacting gas flows there as well. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu confirmed that President Donald Trump had asked Israel to hold off attacking energy infrastructure. Obviously, Trump wants that for the revolution, right? To the counter-revolution to get to freedom, right? So they want Iranian people to do well. Obviously, most of the Iranian people, like I say, want just a modern world, not a 7th century world where they're controlled by a caliphate, so to speak, especially a terrorist one of that, but they're all like that, aren't they? We got so that's pretty much it at the moment on the markets. Let's jump over to the crypto and see how crypto went. So 4 weeks down essentially for stock market and a big retrace, but I think the rebound is going to be truly glorious, and particularly United States. We have seen a lot of big capital reallocate to the United States as opposed to the rest of the world. Because the US is a growth story, right? They're not really affected by the oil, net exporter and all that. There's a few things they have to do, regarding Canada and stuff like that. But apart from that, it's really is, the US looking strong there. So the rebound, I think, is going to be truly glorious, guys. And crypto, man, it's going to run. All right, so it's kind of cool. Now, some of the leftist progressive governments are going to struggle, right? They're going to struggle, but the US is going to look good. All right, so we got the total market right now at 2.5 trillion, up 0.3% right now. We got Bitcoin at the moment at, $70,670, up 0.8%. Ethereum there at 2148. Up 0.2%, so green on the crypto market right now. XRP down 0.4% at $1.45. Number 5 is BNB up 0.3% at $642. 7 is Solana up 0.8% at just below $90 there. Tron at 31 cents, up 1.8%. Figure Helic up 2.7% at $1.03. And number 10 is Doge up 0.3% at 9.4 cents. And so out of these top 10, the best performer is Figure Helic, and then over the whole week, the best performer is XRP, followed by Ethereum, up 3.7 and 2.8% for the week. So those are the top performing in the top 10. And as a quick guide, if you're thinking about the crypto majors, what is the major themes going to affect them? Well, obviously Ethereum is going to benefit from everything. We're talking about tokenization, stable coins, which we're going to look at later. AI and AI payments, creatives, right? Creatives, all these sort of mega trends, privacy, going to be benefited on Ethereum. Then you're going to get other things like payment rails, XRP, like some of the SVM chains with the fast, heavy, a lot of transactions very fast. They should do pretty well, like Solana. So that's sort of payment rails, and then obviously XRP with the payment rails as well through the banking system. So those are probably what's going to happen there. And BNB will have a bit of a mixture as well. Obviously, very centralized sort of chain, and then and that's the risk to a lot of corporates, right? That is a risk. So we'll see what happens there. And then you've got Dogecoin, which will probably pick up from the finance side of things with the X Money wallet. So those are some of the big themes there, and some of the reasons why you might want to pick them up. For example, obviously Solana also going to have some of the heavy meme space there. So that's kind of some of the major things, and of course Bitcoin there being the store of value and actually the ultimate credit market product apparently. So we'll keep a lookout for that. So those are some big narratives. Let's have a look at the weekly there. Best performer is a Siren, up 56% for the week, up 15% the last 24 hours. Artificial Super Intelligence Alliance up 28% for the week. Casper number 3 up 25%, Quant up 22%, and BitTensor Tau up 17%. And of course, Jensen there from Nvidia got mentioned by BitTensor Tau because they were testing some technical achievement with AI. So that was pretty interesting, and that blew up a little bit, didn't it, from that. So that is the top 5 performers in top 100. Top 1,000, we've got Tribe, Wax, and WikiCat. They're trending right now pretty strongly. Tribe up 75%. Trending overall, Xano, Pudgy Penguins, and Hyperliquid. And Hyperliquid there, of course, doing very well with picking up a lot of volume in oil and silver and all those sort of commodities. So Hyperliquid picked up there with that 24/7 trading, and of course Pudgy Penguin's there, Tom Lee's favorite meme coin that keeps trending all the time. So I guess that's going to do pretty well when you get a bull market on, because it keeps trending at the moment. But we'll see about that. All right, so that is pretty much the major summary. Let's get into Bitcoin a little bit. We've got this little channel, I guess, here, and we've got the daily chart here for Bitcoin. This is on Coinbase, and we can see, we actually got 2 green candles now after those 3 red candles. We do have higher lows in place, higher highs. We got the 50-day up here at 72,600. We definitely want to get over 72K. And start, breaking up to the upside here. The 200-day is in the orange, and that is currently at 86,900. So, time to start getting these big green candles, just like we have the big red candles. You guys know it. Maybe the top 20 days of the year is when you make and lose the most money, and timing seems to be the key. And so hopefully we'll look to see some green candles there. And of course, the other thing is we're still in a death cross play out from the 16th of November, and of course the liquidity event that occurred on the 10th of November, right? So there we go there, liquidity event, death cross. It was not very fun, was it? Not very fun there. And so have we reached the bottom? And the bottom being, $60,000, 60,000, all the way from 126 to 60,000. It was pretty brutal, right? Pretty brutal. And of course, the 126,000 was back here on the 7th of October. What happened there? It's the 6th of October here, and just before that liquidity event, and we came all the way down to 60,000. So, that was a $66,360 approximately, down 52%. So some people call for a 70% down. Some people don't even think we're in a bear market. Some people say we're in a crypto winter, a short one, a mild one. So people have got different perspectives of what a correction is these days. We do know that the 4-year cycle has a couple of perspectives on what that looks like too, and also that some people hold in the camp, which I hold too, that eventually the structural changes in crypto, particularly Bitcoin and Ethereum, will dissipate that 4-year cycle, even if if it's there or not. We do have kind of some clear arguments that we still got that 4-year cycle, but actually we have we've got some pretty similar things maybe coming up in April. But I think April's going to actually be a surprise, because if we do get the Clarity Act, that's going to wreck that whole thing about March or April in a 4-year cycle. So we'll see. 122 days went down 52.5%, and now we're back up again. We broke out of this range and we're testing it again. So we had a nice range in here, and we're testing that. So from the bottom there, from 60K, we're up at 27K. We're up 27%, I should say, in 39 days. And we're up about, just the last couple of days, we're up about 20%. So pretty big volatility, and volatility is a great feature of Bitcoin, and the reason why you can make some mad gains, right? So mad gains there. But that volatility over time, will probably flatten out, right? Probably flatten out, but still be a great asset, obviously, over the next 10, 20 years, as a Bitcoin there becomes their ultimate store of value, particularly for safe money, now that it's offering, these high yields, 2-3 times the yields of the debt markets and money markets. So yeah, bring that on. Now the question was, will we get something like a 70% decrease? Well, from the top there, that would be pretty severe, and that would take us all the way down, maybe to 40K or something. So I don't see that myself. I really feel like we've got the bottom in at 60K and we're rising up. So that's kind of where I see it. Let's jump over to some of the bullish news, and the reason why I see that, because we've got some pretty bullish things happening right now that are different, that are structurally different. And one of those we covered in yesterday's show around strategy and stretch and their preferred stock dividend yields, which are changing the game, and we're going to watch those over the next few weeks. But so far, it's a game changer, absolute genius game changer, and maybe the ultimate product of all time. Coming, that combination at least. Some of the good news we did have was we covered yesterday ETFs and digital asset treasury. So if you haven't watched that show, go back and watch it. It was a great overview, and you'll blow your mind if you're not really familiar with actually what's happening with the structural changes in crypto. It'll blow your mind. It really was really crazy stuff there. Brendan says, nice call on the fib level for PRVX. Hey, thanks for that. Appreciate it. What else do we got? Morgan Stanley Wealth Management oversees about 8 trillion in assets under management and recommends 0 to 4% Bitcoin allocation. That's what we're looking to see. A 2% allocation would represent 160 billion, 3x the size of IBIT. So there we go. MSBT monster Bitcoin coming. So obviously Morgan Stanley there files a second amended S1 for its proposed spot Bitcoin ETF. So like I say, the big banks are coming in, guys. And the exchange traded funds are bringing in, corporate institutional money into Bitcoin, and we're seeing more and more of this. We're seeing so many different entities, not just the US but around the world, picking up Bitcoin. I think we just saw Kazakhstan. Was it Kazakhstan? So if you don't know where Kazakhstan is, go look it up on the map. I think it's just up and left to the right of Pakistan, along with the other stans, and they are now buying Bitcoin. So it's smart money. There's smart money there. Kazakhstan, of course, not so rogue like the Pakistan, which is, or more like Afghanistan, which is really rogue Afghanistan, but Kazakhstan there. You can make a really fun song about those country names. Anyway, we got that going on at the moment. So Morgan Stanley files a second amended S1, so that's bullish, guys. More money is coming, and you got to remember, each of these big banks has their own client list. They have their own, money desk. They get on the phone just like you see on some of these big short movies and all that. And they ring, hey man, we got this now. Do you want to get into Bitcoin? We got this. It's all regularly compliant. Do you want to put your $100 million in here? Running your portfolio. Yeah, we'll switch this out. You got all this stuff going on, right? The salesman on the desk there. So, bank by bank that comes on as more and more clients. It's really, really cool. So big deal there. So that is pretty cool. The other big thing that we had was, obviously we've seen not the ETFs, but the digital asset treasuries, which is the other big avenue for funneling money into Bitcoin from a corporate institutional side, and even retail but gets to participate, is that they've got the stretch product as preferred stock. And of course, it is 2 to 3 times better yield than the bond money market. So it's a big vampire on the old traditional credit markets. And we're expecting this to ramp up at a great rate of knots. We're expecting this to absolutely do huge numbers as it grows. It's just really started the last couple of weeks. The last week, of course, has been a bit volatile, and we have to have there's sort of a delay between the cutoff date and the next date, sort of maybe 10 to 13 days. So we'll probably see that happen around 2 weeks, and then it will start printing new stretch shares and raising new capital, and that capital is all used to go and buy Bitcoin, right? So that's structural change with all that money coming in, and so you can see it here with the previous week. So strategy can either issue common stock, which is the MSTR, and buy Bitcoin, or they can issue a preferred stock here with yield, which is stretch, which is currently at about 11.5%, which is just mind-blowing, right, for the fixed market, because even in the private credit markets, you're probably looking at 8 to 8.5%, but you've got a lot of problems, risks with those. You've also got potential illiquid markets. There's lots of issues there. And so this is a game changer. And you can see when you got that interest rate differential and the risk, arguably the risk differential, depending on the way you look at risk, then and you've got that collateralized against Bitcoin, arguably one of the best stores of value, then you even with the volatility, then you are basically you're basically vampiring the whole debt market. It's unbelievable, hundreds of trillions of dollars. And so you could see that slowly increase with the value there. And of course, the week of the 15th, they got $1.1 billion raised through the at-the-market or ATM printing there. Once the stretch product goes over $100, once it gets bought up and bid up past $100, then they start issuing new shares. So it's pretty clever like that. And then they push the price down back to that $100 through issuance of shares. So that's kind of the mechanism there. But it's a game changer. That's why, I've been talking about it so much. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I thought, man, these guys have really thought about this a lot. And of course, they've evolved over last year to create new products. And here we go. We got Stretch and another product called SATA that probably will see that do some stuff. But they've also flipped because it's done so well. Particularly the last week, they flipped the amount. So instead of issuing a lot of common stock of MSTR, they've then suddenly raised a lot of capital through the preferred stock, the Stretch Yield product, and you can see the flip. Look at the flip here. It flipped on the 8th. It was predominantly equity that was raised, and then on which is the MSTR, and then they only had maybe 15, or was it about 20 something percent or something that was credit, and then they flipped it, and credit became 55%. 55%. In fact, they issued very little common stock, which means that you increasing your dividend revenue you have to pay out, but actually your Bitcoin is so fully accretive because you're not issuing common stock, and so you're getting it basically the accretion for the differential. Depending on what you think the growth of Bitcoin is going to be. So a really big game changer there, and as you can see in that chart, really profound, and we're going to keep a lookout for that, right? Will they get to the point where they're not issuing any more common stock for MSDR, and they're just issuing this debt product? They bank the differential, right? So if they're going to grow up 40% a year, they're paying out 11%. They got the 30% plus, whatever. So that sort of idea, and the Bitcoin accretive for MSDR just keeps going up and up and up. So keep a lookout for that. Pretty crazy. Now this product pays out monthly, so it's pretty cool. But they also got the SATA product that pays out monthly as well, and they're 2 weeks apart. So you could actually have hold those products, and if you're retired or whatever you're investing, you could have those incomes coming every 2 weeks, and at 11.5%. Think about that, guys. Instead of earning 2% or 3% at the bank, or going to some property ETF, with the risk that has the underlying risks of the market, does it have a crash, all that sort of stuff, you got all other risks, and earning maybe 7-8%, you now can basically almost riskless. Obviously, Bitcoin would have to go to $8,000 or less or something for it to be, not such a great idea. But you'd have to. You really sitting back there in your retirement earning 11.5%, or they got products that do 13.5% as well. But if you're earning 11.5%, imagine that. It's a game changer, and that's what people are getting into at the moment. And of course, you can have a combination too, right? You can have a combination of products as well. But it is mind-boggling. Think about that. It's mind-boggling what that can do for your income level. You'll be laughing. You'll be sitting next to your neighbor who's earning 2% in the bank. Maybe you've both got let's say you both got just for argument's sake, you both got like $500,000 sitting in the bank, and your neighbor's earning 2% in the retirement village, and you're earning 11.5%, and he's wondering why you're driving in with a new Tesla every year or something like that, something silly like that. But it's pretty crazy stuff. All right, so that is some of the cool stuff there that is happening. So we got big things happening with ETFs coming online from the big banks. We've got big things happening with the digital asset treasuries leading the way and vampiring the TradeFi, funding Bitcoin's valuation. Remember, Bitcoin still a small market. Gold's a big market. Stock market's a big market. Mag 7's a big market. These are $40-50 trillion markets. And then you've got little old Bitcoin and crypto at $2.5 trillion. And now you're going to vampire it for all the credit markets, hundreds of trillions, and flood that into Bitcoin and ratchet it up. As you make it more value, as you transfer more value, you're also lifting the liquidity, and therefore you're allowing bigger players to come in directly or indirectly into Bitcoin because there's much bigger money flowing around. And they can enter and exit. It's the same problem that we have on PulseChain, is how you get bigger players when you got so liquidity, and so it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Remember, 90% of liquidity or trading essentially goes through Bitcoin and Ethereum, and so you want to expand those, from 2.5 trillion to 5 trillion to 10 trillion, and so people were talking about big numbers. $100 trillion market, $200 trillion markets is sort of numbers that Michael Saylor talks about. Maybe in 10 years, $400 trillion market. So you can see how early everybody is here still. It's pretty crazy. So that's some of the overview there. Let's jump to Ethereum. Ethereum right now is at 2151, and we're below the 50-day moving average as well. Currently sitting at 2200. That 2200 mark you probably heard a few times now. That's because this is the mark we want to get over. So we're at 2152. I think not too bad. We've still got 2 green days after 3 red days. and we want to get back over that 2200 mark. Pretty important mark there. And then, of course, the 200-day moving average much higher, 2800. And of course, compared to Bitcoin, Ethereum really hasn't had its real moment. And I think that moment is coming up in the future. I think that's inevitable now. And we've obviously got ETFs coming in. I think the BlackRock ETF, ETFB, is coming in. And not only are they buying Ethereum for their clients, but they're staking it with their new Ethereum. So I think the ETF-A from BlackRock has got 7.5 billion in it. I think it peaked out at 10 to 15 billion. But now the new product is having staking, so people got yield as well. And that's hyper, if you've got a yield product, it's hyper popular. And so, they're going to be staking that. And I suspect we're going to get, tons of money for that, tens of billions of dollars through that is what I suspect. Maybe even more. We'll be watching that. So you've got the ETFs playing a role, bringing capital in, and then you've got the digital asset treasuries. But of course, as I went through yesterday, Tom Lee is doing something much bigger than just a digital asset treasury or the private sector markets. He's doing the new monetary system. He really is moving a lot of chess places here to shift over the monetary system, because the White House is backing it, right? And we've got the Genius Act and hopefully the Clarity Act, which we're going to get into shortly. So a lot of cool stuff happening here. It really is transformative. So the short-term market, the war, is just a short-term thing. We're expecting some big things moving forward here as well. And of course, typically when there is wars on after the first firings, after the wars, then you get the growth story. And so the Mag 7, the software and crypto generally will do well just off the back of that, let alone all these fundamental things I'm talking to you about now with the structural changes. We've got Sean in the house. Hey Sean, good to see you, up only. And yes, great call on the fib. I bought some more back. Yeah. Nice one, Sean. Well done. All right, so that's where we are at the moment, 21.55 on the old ETH. And what should we say about that? That is where we are. So obviously we're in the Death Cross 2. We've got all the same narratives as Bitcoin. 10th of October was the liquidation event. So we'll just quickly do some of these numbers while we're here. So we had the high here back in August, a bit earlier, and that was $4,955. So we still want to break that 5K. I think everyone generally says if we break 5K, then it's absolutely races on and altcoin season will finally come. That's kind of been the general narrative. But we have been down from the top there last year, August. And so let's have a look how far down we came. And we got down all the way down to 1755. Pretty close to around the Tom DeMark numbers that Tom Lee was talking about. Tom DeMark being one of the famous timing gurus. And that is down 65%. So pretty, a pretty big deal. I mean, Bitcoin was down 53%, 64, 65% on the ETH. And we have structural changes happening in ETH in a big way with Bitmine Immersion buying up every week Ethereum. So, it's a game changer there. So 165, I think we're pretty much got the bottom in. And Tom DeMark's pretty confident about that too. So, we've got the backing of the famous guy. And we have got the top of this channel, which is around where we are right now, 2150. It's if we're just retesting that top of that last channel that we're in, and we can get back over the 200 of 2200, it's game on. And I'm feeling pretty positive about that, despite the volatility in the stock market overnight, or at least in the last couple of weeks during the war. What are we on the war? 21 days, something like that. So 3 weeks. So yeah, feeling pretty positive about where we're heading here. And 2800 on the 200-day moving average there. Obviously, we've got all the same things that happened. The 10th of October was the liquidity event. You can see that here in the chart. We got the death cross, which was about a week later than Bitcoin on the 24th. And so we want to get a curve up here on the 50-day and start heading up and getting a golden cross, just like in Bitcoin. But man, I think we're going to have a mighty, mighty time this year. We're still going to have a couple pullbacks, but as long as the pullbacks are on from a higher level, not so bad, right? Not so bad. And of course, we've got some bullish things coming up in addition to the structural stuff that's happening with the digital asset treasuries and ETFs. One of the things we talked about yesterday was, of course, Bitmine Immersion and the big picture. They're doing a much bigger picture than just the treasury, which is amazing by itself. But they are actually bringing the monetary system together, mass adoption, institutional adoption, as well as all the major things we talked about earlier, from tokenization, payment rails, stable coins, etc. And they are going to be a payment layer as well. So lots of things. I mean, there's so many things they're doing. But one of the things they've been doing is orbs. Orbs has acquired another $40 million equity stake in OpenAI. So now Bitmine Immersion has access to, and so does Orbs through. So Bitmine Immersion has a stake in Orbs, but Orbs also has a stake in OpenAI. Both Mr. Beast or Beast Industries and Orbs and OpenAI, both Mr. Beast Industries and Orbs, which Bitmine Immersion has a moon stake in, moonshot stake, is both, or they're all coming together, forming a new monetary system, a new kind of Berkshire Hathaway, but not for the industrial age, but for the intelligence age or AI age. So that you can see how pivotal all this is, and these guys are trying to front run this domination of that whole segment. Whole trend. It's a big deal. And so these two are both probably going to IPO in the next year or two. Definitely probably this year for OpenAI, possibly for Beast Industries, but Beast Industries maybe next year. We'll see. And both of these are expecting $1 trillion plus, basically IPO or ICO there. So it's a major big deal. And now you got the mega theme of monetary system. You got AI, you got your digital ID, you got your social marketplace, which OpenAI is going to be launching. You got all these things coming together. Now, many of those things we disagree with, right? Because we're in DeFi, and we know they lead to a certain amount of control. Because we know there's always some dummy out there that thinks he's smarter than everybody else. I'm talking about progressives, right? They're the dumbest people on the planet, but they think they're smarter than everybody else. And it's like having the idiot rule the roost, right? And then the rest of us are suffocating with these idiots. It's basically what the West is like these days. And we are seeing a bit of a revolution, in many of the places amongst trying to push back. But we still have these clowns, making up nonsense. I mean, it is completely. I don't know if you've seen that movie. What's that movie? The one where they got low IQs. They're kind of. Yeah, I just can't remember the name of the movie now, but it is pretty hilarious. All right, so let's move on from here. So this is a big deal. So Tom Lee is very clever. Not only has he taken over Ethereum with 5%, but also he's bringing all these parties together. Mr. Beast, Sam Altman here, back and making mass adoption, right? So it's a very big picture. Go watch yesterday's video for the full breakdown there. So that's a pretty big deal. So increasing the OpenAI stake. And of course the big stuff here. So we talked about some of the structural things happening, some of the markets that are converging, this big expansion. Ethereum is going to be the payment layer of all that. Oh my God, can you think about it, guys? It's going to be much bigger than people possibly could imagine, because now we have the Tom Lee coming in, playing the big game, all in on the big game, and we're just in those imagine those little pieces of puzzle just coming together. That's what Tom Lee's doing. Boom, we'll bring them all together, and he's got all these big players, Kraken Exchange, ARK Investments, etc., all coming together with all these different things. He's getting on the boards of all these things, and he's pulling it all together. It's crazy. And then meanwhile, he goes around and he does these little interviews. He goes to these little conferences, and he acts, he's a pretty meek kind of guy. And then he's doing all this alpha drop stuff. It's crazy stuff. So the big news, though, outside of all that, if it wasn't good enough already, but the structural changes are being led by Michael Saylor and Tom Lee, and of course there's many others doing their own thing as well, is the Clarity Act, right? So this is the final regulation. So last year we got the Genius Act with stablecoin, and we've seen stablecoins boom up, right? And I think it's 183 billion alone on Ethereum. We've had an extra 100 billion be minted, I think, on Ethereum. It's crazy times. And then I think we're totally over all chains. It's something like 370 billion or something. We're looking forward to 3-4 trillion by 2030, says Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. And so we had that. And then, of course, the last couple of days, we had the head of the SEC give us clarity that we had always been after around the Howey test and around what is a commodity, what is securities. Gave us clear breakdowns of the 5 segments, and that was fantastic. We went through that the other day. That is a key stepping stone. That was an interpretation of the current laws, and then now we've got new laws coming to confirm all that stuff up, and this is the Clarity Act, right? This will really, firm up the responsibilities between the SEC and the CFTC, between securities and commodities regulation, and custodialism, and many other things, right? And particularly the big battle over yields, which we just talked about earlier. So between banks and the crypto companies, right? So we got big news today. Obviously, it was supposed to get passed last August. and it was supposed to get passed in February, and now we are looking for an April to May passing. So we finally got some news out of the Senate Banking Committee. Looks like we've got a draft to move forward with. And so that's going to process there. So we've got some update here. So US senators reached bipartisan deal, and of course with White House on stablecoin yield dispute. And the problem is that all these banks coming in threatened by the DeFi, and I think they should be threatened because this is where the innovation is. This is where most of the yield goes back to the user rather than to the bank, right? The bank takes all the money, and we know what that's like, right? So the Clarity Act just cleared its biggest hurdle. Senator Tom Tillis, a Republican from North Carolina, and Senator Angela also Brooks, a Democrat from MD, I'm not quite sure, is that Massachusetts? I'm not sure what that is, but confirmed Friday they have an agreement in principle with the White House on stablecoin yield language that stalled crypto market structure legislation for months. So this is kind of, this is the tsunami, this is the floodgate that could open up, all banks starting to flood in, and all these institutions start flooding in even more than what they have already. The ones that have certain risk requirements, certain constitutions, etc., that limit what they can do, will be able to now flood into crypto. Into the blockchain particularly. We got confirmed Friday that they have an agreement in principle with the White House, double-killed yield language that stalled crypto market structure legislation for months. Senator Tillis and I do have an agreement in principle. Also, Brooks said it will allow us to protect innovation and, of course, but also give us the opportunity to prevent a widespread deposit flight. And, of course, this deposit flight was what the banks were worried about. And I still think they're going to have some issues with that, big issues in my view. But anyway, it is what it is. Tillis added, in working with the White House, I think we have an agreement. Now we have to vet it with industry because they are a party to the ultimate deal. So we've still got some challenges there to work through. The bill could now move to a Senate vote within weeks. If passed, it would end regulation by enforcement and bring clearer rules on token classification, intermediary standards, RWA tokenization, and small transaction tax clarity. The House passed the Clarity Act in July 25. The Senate version has been stuck in the banking community over the stablecoin yield fight between banks and crypto firms. That fight now may be over. So, let's go see what the prediction markets think about it. But anyway, that is where we are right now. So that was a pretty big deal on that. So we'll see how it all goes on from here. But that was pretty big news. We are watching that because that is major green candles probably coming from that. And all the banks will flood in as well. They won't want to sit around and let all the DeFi and CeFi companies eat their lunch. They'll be making partnership deals, just like we've seen with the MasterCard credit card, just like we've seen with Stripe and Kraken, with some of these essential, CeFi exchanges making partnerships with TradeFi companies. These ones are moving fast, and the banks will want to move fast as well because they will get their lunch eaten if they don't, right? So it's going to be a crazy time, guys. And because if you guys are holding, a good portfolio of quality assets, you do pretty well there. So big deal. All right, so let's jump over to some of the drivers that have been happening. We talked about how money's flowing in through the ETFs and digital asset treasuries. We talked about some of the key legislation that's going to open up the floodgates. Well, we've also got these mega trends, as I talked to you about, with tokenization, which is going through the roof, right? 55 billion plus, I think, now on Ethereum. And we've got, obviously, we've got stablecoin boom happening. We see Circle going up in value, right, because it's the one that's listed. And, we've got massive flows coming. So just in the short term, I think over the last year, we've had $100 billion come in. We've got about 183 billion, I think, on Ethereum right now. And we've got massive stablecoin migration underway. Ethereum leads the way with 2.3 billion in flows. This just in the last, I think, 24 hours. So we've got lots of money coming in, guys. Every week now is being minted by Circle and Tether and things like that. But Circle, of course, is listed on the NASDAQ, so you can actually buy it. And that's been rallying from, I think, only, 6 weeks ago, something from $50 all the way to about $140 or something like that. So definitely an opportunity there. we could see that potentially target in the short term to $180 for Circle, and then who knows where it goes with all this, hundreds of billions of dollars, potentially trillions of dollars being minted. Obviously, there are competitors in the market. You got Tether, you got new entrances like Eric Trump with the USD1 and other stablecoin boom, but it will open up even further boom. Remember, the Genius Act is going to have regulations by July, has to be enacted by January 27. So you got this Clarity Act coming, potentially April, May, and then if that gets through, no problems. Obviously, it's gone then we should hopefully move forward pretty powerfully with this crypto. The last big thing we're expecting, guys, is not only are we getting US states now setting up for Bitcoin. I think North Carolina just passed a bill to set up a Bitcoin treasury, but we're also the US government. We're expecting something from the White House around Bitcoin and altcoin acquisitions. I don't know whether that's going to include buying Michael Saylor's strategy, but we'll see where that heads. But we're looking forward to that too, because that could play a role in obviously not only supporting the US dollar with stable coins and holding Bitcoin, but actually dealing with some of the issues around the public debt, as you guys know, which is ginormous. I think at 38 trillion or something like that. So I think they're going to do a multi approach to that, but definitely crypto could play a massive role in dealing with that issue. So that's kind of where we are right now. You can see the Ethereum, BNB, and Arbitrum there, big movers there, and we've got decreases in stablecoins apparently along the other chains, including Solana, interesting enough, and Tron as well. All right, so those are some of the mega themes. I hope you guys have enjoyed that coverage. I said you were going to go through a lot. And that's just a little bit of a teaser around Strategy Club. So if you're not in Strategy Club, you should definitely join up. Links in the video description, pinned to the top of X. You can get all the secret source, constantly flowing information there of the stuff that I think is going to be important, not only with the mega themes and what's happening with the big picture, but also with many of the opportunities that are there in crypto. And, there's some very relatively low hanging risk opportunities relative to the upside. Because of where we are in the cycle, where we are with the takeoff of crypto, because really with these new laws in place, we're really just at the takeoff phase. You see what I mean? We're just laying the foundation with the Genius Act, with the Clarity Act, with all these banks coming in, all these CFI setting up partnerships, all this stuff that's going on. We're only really just at the beginning, and of course, you guys are here at the right time, right place. Now, you guys know that the markets for employment are going to get more difficult going forward because of AI and automation. Then we've got robots coming. If you thought AI is bad enough and it's taken away a lot of jobs, and that affects not only yourself potentially, but your children and their children. But we've also got robots coming. Elon Musk probably by next year will have mass production of humanoid robots with AI and hand movements that are pretty close to humans. And that's a game changer, right? Let alone the manufacturing robots that are already, rampantly taking over factories. And so you're going to have robots being able to do maybe not everything, but a big percentage of what humans are doing now. And so it's a big challenge to everybody. You're going to have robots in factories doing all the factory work that was, terrible. Remember, the Industrial Revolution in England started in 1640. Can you believe it? 1640. And, you had the early factories, early crafts stores there, people doing some disgusting jobs. Right? And now you can have robots do all that stuff. You can have robots do it all, all that manufactured stuff. Maybe some of the little nitty gritty stuff you don't need robots for because it does require sort of that human angle that maybe robots can't get to at the moment. But you definitely, for the vast majority of jobs, you could get robots doing it either on computer or actually in robots, and it's going to be a game changer. If you think the iPhone was really great, then it's having robots walk around with pretty similar hand movements, which is the key part there, moving around pretty agility. With advanced AI chips, Blackwell chips, whatever they've got running them, it's going to be pretty crazy, guys. And so. Employment's going to be a big deal. So what does it come back to crypto? Well, crypto is going to give you the best opportunity right now to make the mad gains while everybody else is slaving away, slaving for the man, and of course having the intelligence age, get rid of their job. And this of course is the counter move for the so-called universal income eventually coming up. But of course you guys all know that that's not how really things play out that well, and so people have these ideas of that. I think there's going to be no monetary printing, but we know leftist governments love to print money and spend your money. So, and typically on things you don't want them to spend the money on. So you got all these things happening, and so now is why you're at the right place at the right time in history and in your life. And so the chances of becoming really financial free are huge, as well as, if you are facing challenges from AI and eventually robots from probably next year onwards, guys. That's, if Elon gets on track for making a million of his Optimus 3 next year with the new hand movements, it's going to have 21 or 22 of the out of 27 hand movements that humans have. At the moment, Optimus 2 only has 7 out of 21, which makes it a little clunky, can't do a lot of human stuff. But once you get up to 21 or so, you are able to do a lot of stuff humans can do. And of course, it's got better chips, better AI chips, way more powerful, better algorithms, and so it's able to do better sensors, able to do a lot of stuff. Because if you think about Tesla's not really a car company, it's an AI company, right? They have years ahead of everybody else. And of course, that's why the cars drive around so well these days. It's quite remarkable. So even for people falling asleep at the wheel, which is quite a funny video. But so that's kind of the play where we are right now. Food for thought there, some food for thought. All right, let's get back into it and go to PulseChain, which is the main title of the video today. We're 55 minutes in, so I'm quite late for this part, but this is the main part of the show. We got the Battle of the Titans, guys. And so let's get into that. Let me just get back into, I think a little picture of it. A little picture, we're not there. A little picture. Let me go to, I got a little picture here, so let me find that. So Battle of the Titans. So, all the drama here with, here it is, the Battle of the Titans. I got a picture. So Battle of the Titans there. Let's go to the view. I almost forgot what page I was on. So Battle of the Titans is the title of the video today. And we've got some interesting things. So why have I got these lists of tokens? I got PRVX, I got PCock, I got Hex, I got pTGC, I got PDai, I got PulseX, and I got Ink. Now, out of all those projects, PDai is the only one I think that doesn't have anything behind it, right? It's had a couple of attempts to, PDai to $1. It's had BetterBank and other protocols try to support it, but it's really a dog's breakfast in terms of that, right? So, but what does it have? It does have some strengths, right? It has one of the top turnovers on PulseChain. Apparently, they're probably going through Liberty Swap, so it's good volume for Liberty Swap, but apparently, haven't confirmed that, but that's indicative. They have a big amount of influencers from Prairie Bernard, who does an amazing job, through to big holders and influencers like B Roots and Ian Heinisch and others. They have maybe a good half a dozen of relatively large influencers. So it has a big community. They're pretty cultish, they're pretty crazy, and they're there, right? And of course, we have also the influencers. So they do have some big things as well as that volume. So there's 3 big things there, and maybe they have potential for finally, maybe the next thing that comes along is able to help it get to $1. But I think it's a big ask, and given how cultish the community is, a lot of them will dump on their heads, right? Once they get a decent amount of X's, I'm sure there'll be lots of dumping going on there. So we have the old PDai there. So out of this list, that's the only one that's not really a protocol. So think about PRVX. So PRVX is this peer-to-peer technology, disintermediate the centralized exchanges. It's currently in beta right now. We have PCock. PCock is the official coin to Liberty Swap. Liberty Swap is doing amazing things. I call it the Kraken of the, funny enough, the Kraken of the chain. But it is, they are pushing the frontier of privacy. They're pushing the frontier of bridging, pushing the frontier of ZK privacy, of course, I talked about. They're pushing the frontier of DEX aggregation. They really are doing amazing things. And they are not only that, but they come in and they have got a huge roadmap in front of that. The next big thing, we've got the some frontier privacy / normal wallet. which is, I think, this is the first out there. It's going to be a game changer, and that's coming up possibly as early as April. It's going public testing at the end of the month. That's coming as well with the big airdrop. So that is huge. And then after that, they got Liberty Lend, so they're going to lending. But because they've got the Liberty Swap 2 version 2, they can actually now do hooks. So they can hook it, hidden all sorts of DeFi into it, and so they just blow up the DeFi machine. And in many ways, I kind of say it like this: they are multi-chain, so they're able to bring liquidity in and out. But they're also kind of vampiring the chain in some ways as well, the old PulseChain in some ways. So depends on where you look at it. But perspectives. So we've got that. So we've got PRVX and PCock, both in the privacy space, both doing amazing things technologically wise. PCock, of course, is going to be a fast adopter of the peer-to-peer technology there as well, bring it into the suite of products. Then we have Hex. Hex, of course, the first supercharged certificate of deposit compared to the banks was the narrative. That, however, is facing a lot of competition from other yield products because we've had so much innovation in crypto. But what are some of the strengths? Obviously, Richard Hart coin on the PulseChain. It has a huge community and a huge awareness, even amongst Ethereum whales, right? So some numbers had like 1 in 3 Ethereum whales had interacted with Hex during the 2021 boom on Ethereum. So it has a lot of things like that. So it has a big community. We do see it react sometimes very quickly. So it does have that. And of course, if we get off the bottom of PulseChain, maybe it really starts to show its shine, right? Show its shine there. Then we have PDC, the first DAO token on PulseChain, right? And of course, that has its own influencer there. Sorry, I said Prairie Banana before on PDai, but I meant I didn't mean Prairie Banana there. So we've got on PDai, we've got Somi, people like that. So I'll get back to that in a moment. But on PDC, we've got Prairie Banana, we've got B Roots, and all those guys supporting the old PDC. So I messed up there a bit earlier before. So we've got B Roots, Hynrix, and all that behind PDC and the DAO. They recently launched an incentive program in February. And that's been very successful, and they are really focused on doing a lot of promotion moving forward. So PDC there is the first DAO. They got the reflection tokens. They got a DAO that captures some of that value. They can buy and burn the token off. All that good stuff's going on there. You can lock and stake your tokens. So it has a lot of utility, right? Then you get PDai. Sorry, we'll get back to that. So PDai has got Somi, obviously leading the way. Just to correct what I said earlier, you got Somi. You got a good half a dozen other influencers there. But Somi really the big player, and then you've got another maybe 4 or 5 smaller influencers there, all part of the same thing that love the PDai. And of course you got that big sort of cultish community, and of course the big volume going through there, one of the top sort of 6 or 7 volumes there on the PulseChain. Then you have PulseX, but now PulseX has utility. PulseX is the biggest DEX on PulseChain, right? So it has that. It's got deflation. There's only a fixed supply. It buys and burns the supply on V1 PulseX, V2, and of course the more volume going through it, the more burning you have, right? And I think we're up to about 8.68% or something on the burn. And then of course you have Ink, which has lost its utility in many ways, but it could potentially have utility in the future. It was obviously the incentive token for PulseX DEX, and may or may not be used in the future if the Master Chef contract is called and the DAO is set up and handed over to the community. Then incentive might get some utility. We'll see what happens there. Certainly has some big, large holders. I think one of them is Firewall still. I think it still holds a decent bag. I think it was number 2 holder, if I remember right, farming that. And we recently saw, funny enough, PRVX get a big setup with Ink. We also said sort of PRVX get a big setup with PDai. So PRVX has had a lot of LPs set up with all these tokens, funnily enough, and we've seen that too. I did do a post on that, of course, so let me bring that up before we get into the PulseChain. Just wanted to go quickly through these as a setup, but I wanted to, let me just go find my posts. Where did I put that post? I think this one here. Yeah, so yesterday I put this out. PRVX liquidity at PulseChain stats shows 2 million in the 4 main pairs. That was when I posted this. But more LPs, circa $850,000 plus, and have been set up by third parties, right? One of them includes, of course, the second biggest holder of PRVX, interestingly enough. And that included PulseX, Hex, Inc., Doubt Token, PTC, UFO, SCADA, Rhino, Fire from Crispy Man, PCock, ZXP, I think it is. Maybe it was ZKP, I might get it wrong there, and PDai, right? So there we go. And that is what we had last night. So that was yesterday. And so some pretty interesting things happening in the old PRVX space. But what I want to get to, and so just remember this list here, because we're going to talk about more about that after the market update. We got Sonora and house there. Check out PulseX. Yeah, so PulseX is set up. I don't know who set that up, but it's a meme token essentially for PRVX. Is PulseX there? That's the one there. We got Eddie in the house. Hey, good to see you, Eddie. Welcome. All right, so let's get into the PulseChain results, and we're going to come back to these Battle of the Titans, because these tokens, I've gone through them all, kind of basically just a quick overview. But these are all top liquidity tokens. So they do. If you think about 24-hour volume on PulseChain, you think about what's really pushing volume on PulseX DEX, then it's these tokens, right? So PRVX, PCock, Hex, PDC, PDai, Plsx, and Inc. Every so often we can have some of the OG web chefs and other ones doing a decent volume because they set up these sort of liquidity bots or something like that. But these are the ones that are generally the top ones that are doing the volume on PulseChain. For good or bad, that's what they are, right? That's what they are. Most of them, apart from PDai, has a lot of utility. Now, PDai does have third-party utility. You can go and put it in farms and things like that and other things. So don't get me wrong, there are third-party utilities for these as well. But as a principal, intrinsic utility, that's the only one that really doesn't have anything, because Maker was pretty much a dog's breakfast. So when it got copied over, so that's kind of some of the things there. We're going to come back to that. Let's have a look at the results right now. So we're going to refresh this and see how the PulseChain is performing. So we're on day 1044. We got Pulse at the moment still with 5 zeros. At 909, down 0.5% almost, or 0.42%. We got PulseX at the moment at 50701, and that is down 0.77%. The buy and burn sitting at 8.72%, slightly higher than what I said. Inc token there at 39, just below 40 cents, down 0.82%. We got PHEX, or Hex on PulseChain, is actually up 3%. And that is at 1/1600th of a penny. We got EHEX still down pretty low, 0006. The combined price of EHEX and PX is at 2200th of a penny right now. Moving to the gas prices, we've got 677,000 beats. That's super low. I don't think we've seen that low for a long time. 0.2 of a penny for a PulseX swap, just showing how miserable it is on PulseChain, right? So as you guys know, PulseChain is a full system stake fork of Ethereum. It has EIP 1559, so it's got the old burning mechanism, but you've got to have decent volume to get deflation, right? So back to PulseChain, they're earning a yield, but even then at the moment, they're not earning, it's not profitable. So we've got PulseChain at the moment, 52,683 validators. They're earning a yield of around 10%, 9.5%. But really, they're not very profitable. Obviously, Pulse down so much, and the volume on PulseChain so low that there's not a lot of burning going on either. We've got inflation basically, and we see that in Ethereum, right? They've got inflation there too, even with their volume. And you've got to get a certain amount of volume, as I understand it, before you get the burn on. So I'm sure there's some modeling out there of what that might be. But that is PulseChain. Let's go to the bridge at the moment. 70 million over there at the moment on the bridge. Now, obviously, when you launch another token like PRVX, obviously you got the sacrifice value, and most of that was raised, I think about 90% raised over on Ethereum. Some of that would have come via PulseChain sell-off. But one of the big arguments is that you want to see money come over the bridge and chase that PRVX scandal. Now, we're still early days, right? Still early days. And if you're going to have another parabolics, the news has got to get out. It's got to get out. People got to find, oh man, look at that chart. You can see it maybe see it on some lists, but you got to get awareness out as well as the network effect where people are talking about it, right? Oh man, this thing's going up. It's ruthless. It's just gone up. This much X, and then you get the FOMO and all that sort of stuff. So a bit like the old Hex story. So we'll see. Now, there's different views of what's happening with that, so we'll get to that in a minute. But that is currently where we are at the bridge. Not really much of a change there at the moment. Let's have a look at the best performers over the last 24 hours. Well, Sonora, you're in luck because PulseX there is number one, and it's been around for about 2 days. It's the meme coin, official meme coin, I say, but what's official in DeFi, right? What's official? Unless Richard Hart announces it himself, it's it's not really official. We've got a third-party token from looks at PRVX. I'm not sure who launched it, but PRVX there. I think someone said yesterday, but I can't remember who it was. 23% at the moment is up at the moment in 24 hours. PDC the Grays, which was one of our titans, right? That's up 9%, and we're sitting just below 000 1400 on that, so that's doing pretty well. on the old bounce back. Let's have a quick look at PDC with the pulse pair. And of course, we've got, like I said, these are the top volume ones, right? So these tokens are the top volumes. They're really adding the volume into PulseChain. That's why I call them the Battle of the Titans. And will they all win, or will some lose? You can decide. And of course, will PRVX win and all the rest lose? So you can decide. But at the moment, that's not the case, right? At the moment, why does it keep doing that? I had some weird stuff going on with my. Click on that, and it's coming up Gophers. What the hell? I'm not sure what's driving that. That's weird. All right, so we've got PulseX. I'm trying to get to the chart. What the fudge? I won't even click on it, probably. Yeah, Gophers. What the hell? I don't know. Someone playing a joke here. We've got PDC at the moment at 7.5%. Up at the moment, we've got UFO as well. So UFO, obviously the child almost of PDC. That's up 7.5% as well. Interesting enough, we've got Unity in there right now. Let me just do a refresh of this because a bit weird stuff going on there. Let me go back up here. So we've got Unity right now is up 7% as well. That's from Cryptographics, a PulseChain influencer and developer on both PulseChain and Ethereum. We've got Emmet Farm from Kairos, sitting pretty strong, up 5% at $1.11. Seems to be pretty comfortable in that place at the moment. So those are some of the leaders. Emmet Farm, arguably, the number one farm on PulseChain. I guess there's a couple others like True Farm, and we've got other ones out there like, Functionon, Nexion. What else is out there? Nexion, Vox, I think, still out there. We've got a few others as well. So, there's a few, what I call innovative farms. We got Gophers, which is the first 404 contract on PulseChain from Dipcatcher. That's up 3% today. Man, how's that fallen? It used to be thousands of dollars, wasn't it? It's $28 now. We got Teddy Bear. Teddy Bear from James Maria. Teddy Bear. I wish I could say it with that sort of cute New York thing, but, hey. I'll leave that for the hot chicks or something. We got Teddy Bear there right now, is up 2.8%, and that is versus a Tropa, which often is the better performing one. What else we got there? Sparta. Sparta is up 2%, although I don't think they've got much hex left anymore, have they? Haven't got much hex left anymore. So those are the ones. So yeah, we've got PCock really leading the way ultimately out of the top, out of the Titans is actually leading the way. And interesting enough, then we have Hex coming in at number 1920, up 1.7%, and of course Hex is on our Titans, right? Hex is on our Titans, and of course they're contributing a lot of volume. So if we actually go to the top here, we've only got 6.3 million in volume, and sometimes we only have 3 or 4 million. So I mean, I guess it's better than that. But we got 6.3 million. Gone are the days where we had 20-40 mil. Remember, 20-40 mil. Obviously, Pulse is right down in value, right? So that's the case too. But yeah, 6.3 mil. We got a lot of those stable coins we talked about apparently just sitting idle on the chain, not doing anything. So maybe they're going to be used for a rainy day later on, or the magic carp ride. I don't know. You decide. We've got a lot of idle capital sitting on PulseChain for some reason, and only a fraction of it inside the pools. So is that when the magic carp ride chess moves happen? I don't know. You decide. We got Hex down under in house there. Good morning, Superman. Have a good weekend, sir. You too, sir. Have a great weekend as well. So yeah, we got that going on at the moment. Let's scroll down a little bit further. We got the teddy bears. We got the top hat. The top hat there tied in with the PCock. That's up 1% right now from Crypto Coffee, one of the largest influencers in PulseChain. Treasury Bill there, another James Maria, I believe, 1% up there at the moment. We got then we get into a couple of PCocks here. We got DAO Token, one of the top meme coins, up 1%, and then we got PCock, one of the PCock pairs as well. Now it's one of the smaller trading pairs, 42k. But that's here as well, sitting at just below 1.4 cents at the moment. Seems to have found a comfortable place there. And of course, we've got Zero Trust, part of the PCock trifecta, as they say. And Zero Trust there doing a lot of innovation on PulseChain. I do think they're doing, they're doing quite a bit of stuff on the, let's go to this sort of stuff here, on the like prediction markets and things. I think this is the one that does these things. Strategic, I think they're the ones with the prediction markets and other DeFi. Hopefully I've got the right one, but I think this is the one. I don't see it there. We've got Cypher Index, Zero Chat 1. Maybe it's the other one trifecta. I can't remember now. But anyway, so that is there at the moment in the mix. They're still all in the green right now, just slightly in the green, because if Pulse was down 0.5%, these guys are all doing slightly better than Pulse. Not a lot better. I mean, it's only 0.5% or something. What else do we got here? We got Stake ETH is up a little bit. Most wanted. So we got doubt token up here, but we also got most wanted, one of the other top memes. It's just almost break even at the moment in US dollars. And then we've got pump tires die here at number 43 is also just a tad green, and so there we go. Everything else is red, and I guess everything that's less than 0.5% down is doing worse than Pulse at the moment. So 54 coins, and we've got pTiger in there at the moment. So they're all doing sort of subpar. But the ones that are really down a lot are down here. Let's have a look. We've got ZKP. So obviously ZKP is a product from Kairos, the Emmett Farm founder. And I think this might end up doing pretty well. We'll see. Obviously it's down now. PRVX obviously came off the high. But it did rally quite nicely. It's still early. It's only, 6 days, 7 days old, 7 days now. And this is basically by ZKP. You put it into stake it, and then you earn from the volume, 5% from the volume, you earn PRVX. They also have some farming options as well on Emmett Farm. So there's a couple of utilities there. Volumes dropped off to 10k, so obviously the PRVX yield will be a bit lower. I think it was 20k yesterday, was something like that. But we'll keep a lookout. Launched with the PRVX, might do well. Obviously its fate was probably going to be reasonably tied to PRVX. But that is the ZKP from Kairos. A big shout there. Talked about that twice now. That's not bad. We've got 9mm down here, our biggest DEX. We've got liquid loans down here as well. The big liquidity fork. So these ones here, why I haven't got them on the Titans, have I? I haven't got them on the Titans because they're not really doing the volume, right? They're not doing the volume, but they are blue chip. They are blue chip. But once again, they're not. They're only really going to do well when PulseChain starts doing well, right? So PulseChain has to start doing well for the DEXs and the liquidity forks to start doing really well, right? That's why they're down, right? And people not, there's a few other things out there attached to them, but that maybe people don't like. But actually, they got to, let's go to get rid of the first candle. What's going on here? I have a few issues there, but you can see down chart here for liquid lines, our biggest liquidity fork, right? Biggest liquidity fork, and just what it is. Now we could probably maybe Vault 369 from Fast Abdul is going to be bigger, but at the moment still the biggest one. What's going on here? All right, so those are down there. We've got ZKP, we've got liquid loans, got all these top tier protocols. I have no idea. It's kind of doing its own thing. It's a bit weird. I don't know what's going on there. So we got. I'm going to refresh this again. Sorry guys. Maybe my computer's a bit overheated or something. I don't know, but. We've got, let's go to the bottom here, and I'm just going to scroll down one more time. We've got, what else is down here? We've got Dominance down 12% from AG WebChef, GoPulse down 6%, for Investor is down 4.5% at $1.45. So Investor, Dominance, all part of OG WebChef ecosystem. And then we've got PRVX down. So PRVX is down 4.5%. So let's have a look at PRVX, and let's pull up, I'm going to pull up the US dollar pair, which is the biggest one. So US dollar pair's got $1.1 million of liquidity in it, and which means it's probably got about 2 million overall amongst the main four, which is the USD Tether, USD DAI, and then Wrapped ETH, I think it is. So you can see the price right now happening here on the 4 hourly. Let's go to the hourly chart, and let's see where it lit. So it bounced off 9,000. Do you guys remember? Once again, back to the show yesterday, I did a Fibonacci and I had 9,000, right? So it basically hit 9,000, which may or may not be coincidence, but it was funny enough. It hit the mark basically exactly, which is hilarious. And then of course it's gone up, and it's gone up to rally back up to 0.0001058, which is kind of psychological level. Also the close pretty much around the break even, like the base sacrifice price, let's say, which is this yellow line here. And that doesn't include the multiplier bonus, right? And the best multiplier bonus apparently, not this one, but you can't see it here, but is way down here. That's the best multiplier apparently. It's 32, which is kind of the Buckamentals one, the PRVX pool. So arguably these people are still in the money quite a lot, about 3x or 200%. But everyone that didn't have the multiplier is pretty much at break even from the looks of it, or just slightly less than break even. But anyway, so what do we see here? Well, we saw the rollover, right? So I saw the rollover. I posted this on X the other day, and that was that once we saw this high here, it looked very ominous that it was a lower low, and it's just a slightly lower low. but this looked very ominous, and that started to look like a rollover, right? We obviously got the 21 hourly moving average here, and the 4 hour is a lot more relevant, but because we haven't got a lot of data, and we ended up seeing that break down. So we actually go to the 4 hour. You can see that we are just just below pretty much the 4 hour, the 21 moving average now on this, and just below the base sacrifice price 0001. So we have lower highs here happening, but let's go back to the hourly there just to show the granularity there. We have lower highs at the moment. So but we started to here, so we ended up getting down to 9,000. We had a lower high here, but then we've had a slightly higher low, so that's encouraging. So what you'd probably want to see is this start to move back up, but you really need confirmation that it goes over 1050 and starts trying to make a new pattern there and basically form another parabolic, right? Another parabolic. So I had the parabolic there, and hopefully if you're in a PRVX, you're looking forward to do another parabolic there. We got Brennan, our TA guru. I'm not sure if he's still here, but let us know your thoughts on that. But yeah, that is going to be pretty interesting moving forward, and the RSI there on the hourly starting to move up. But let's have a look at the 4 hourly, because it's kind of the trader's view. In the 4 hour, the RSI is getting a higher low as well, which is kind of encouraging. Slightly higher, 44 to 46. So keep a look out for that. So pretty much, I think another decision area, just like we had, I think back here somewhere where we talked about that. I think it was back at the beginning. We got another decision area here. Now, I think that if I ignore the Richard Hart effect and the sacrifice money and all that, which it's hard to do, right? If I ignore the speculation and the whole PulseChain community FOMOing into it, if I ignore all that, if I ignore Father Christmas or whatever, but then I think if I ignore that and I think about the relativity to market caps, then I feel like it should be down here on market cap. So if we go to market cap, current market cap's 125 mil. And depending on whose market cap you're thinking about, I still think it should be down here. Why do I say that? Because we don't really have, from a fundamental point of view, and this is not necessarily how markets work, right? Markets typically, PulseChain's a pretty immature place if you think about it. We're getting maturity. In some areas, but it's taking a long time, right? Because we're in DeFi, right? It's the Wild West a little bit. But even with DeFi, you're hoping that people, bigger parts of the market start focusing on value as opposed to the pump and dumps. We're always going to pump and dumps and memes and everything else, but you hope that you get a bit more strength there. So yeah, at the moment we've got 125 mil. I kind of feel because the product's only in beta, we haven't really got mass adoption on it or anything like that. All that sort of stuff coming up, the launch, yeah. But the question is, and this is something that will probably happen, as my guess, is that marketing, right? Would Richard Hart do marketing? Because I think if he wants us to win, he's got to get awareness, he's got to get marketing. Will he have, platform marketing? I don't know if he's going to do influencer marketing because he doesn't like the tie up there, but platform marketing could probably do, and you can do that by stealth, right? So we'll see what happens in that space. And obviously he can, encourage the PulseChain influencers to do it. People say there's 150 to 200 influencers in PulseChain. Well, there is technically on the list, but how many of them are actually active? That's the question. And so, I have a good idea of what that number is, but how many are actually active? And of course, how many could you rally? Now, you could definitely wake some up, right? Wake some up. So you might have a couple of dozen that are maybe reasonably active. And so yeah, but at the moment that's not the case, right? It's not the case at the moment. So there's lots of things that could happen there, and just like Hex with the Hex Mania back in the Hex day, you could probably get something like this. And this is much easier to move, right? PRVX, relatively easier to move. It's also was set up like an island within PulseChain with all the stable coins, compared to having Pulse and PulseX, the Richard Cores, etc. But we've already seen, as I said, about 850k already matched up with third-party peers compared to the $2 million that was set up originally. So it's already starting to get, dragged into the rest of the PulseChain stuff here. Now, the other side of it, of course, we've seen a lot of rotation into here. So from a lot of the Titans, we've seen PCock, because PCock was profitable, so people had profits. So that, if they had lost on other things, they had profit in PCock, so they could rotate that. We saw some of that last night. Saw some, people that were in very good profit sell and then rotate straight into PRVX on the pullback. So you get that as too. So, okay, at the top, people sell So do they sell back into the Richard Art cause, or do they sell into stablecoin and leave the bridge and go over the bridge? And we see some of that too. So we've seen a mixture of that, particularly yesterday. I think we saw something like that. But it's only one or two key players, and there's some of the big volumes that happen there. So obviously, as long as it stays within PulseChain, and maybe they rotate from PRVX back to the PulseChain cause, then you get some value. Of course, we saw the PulseChain cause get pulled down as well. So there's a bit of give, but every time it comes back down, arguably that can flow into other projects, like maybe some of these Titans, some of the Richard cores, or it can leave the chain, which is the worst scenario, right? We want capital to come into the chain, right? We are still early. We only really had this one parabolic, and of course, maybe it's not until 2-3 parabolics that we start getting capital coming in, hearing about it and FOMOing, and the technology getting adopted, etc. Alternatively, we get this the seesaw event happen with the rest of these coins. So these coins, all these coins except the PRVX, they get sold, they get rotated back in and then rotated back out. We can see something like that happen, and that could be a wild ride, right? That'd be a wild ride for sure. And that would make necessarily the rest of the chain look quite bad. Maybe PRVX looks good. Maybe the rest of the chain maybe gets a little bit of uplift, but not enough for track capital. And so you've got all these things going on right now. But of course, the narrative would be that PRVX is the easiest one to move. Maybe Richard's tried to move the other coins for years now. Obviously, we had the SEC, over our heads since the 7th up to the 7th of July last year for 2 years. And of course, we had a couple of attempts to pump the chain and get dumped down to. And we've got the sacrifice set. Are they truly exhausted yet on PulseChain? So you've got all these questions going on there. And of course, this is where we are right now. Now we've got a whole nother set of sacrifices in the PRVX. The smaller project, easier to move, arguably. So we're going to see this here cause this back and forth as well. And will it still be the beacon? Now we're going to get a lot of parabolics, easy one to move there, glory for Richard, etc. So we shall see. We shall see where it all lands. But so far, it's been pretty crazy and pretty disruptive, right? And so we've seen rotations happening as well. So with some of these quality projects that actually have utilities behind them, right? Like PCock with Liberty Swap, PDC with the DAO, etc. So yeah, and then of course the Richard R cause, and then of course you got your outlier there, the PDai. PDai having a big community and some big influencers, supporters, and of course one of the top volumes on the chain. So if we go to look at the volumes, we can see here on Pulse Coin List just some of the assessments here. Now I don't reconcile a lot of this stuff. I mean, you can go hunt down all the peers. I have done that from time to time, but we're just going to take the volumes that are on here. Got PulseChain 3.5 million volume. We got PRVX here 1.5 million volume. So obviously PRVX here now becoming a kingpin in the volume. We got Wrapped ETH in volume, but we're going to ignore that. We got Hex in volume 862k, PulseX in volume 391k, Incentive 330k. So as you see between the Richard Hart cores, PulseChain, PulseX, Hex, PulseX, Incentive, they are driving a lot of the volume, right? They're driving a lot of volume. That's why they're Titans, right? That's why they're Titans. And so they are driving the volume on PulseChain, and they're still relatively low volumes, right, compared to what they used to be, compared to what some other places are doing. But there's other chains that are even worse. They're almost dead, right? There's lots of chains that are dead. So this is kind of the play. That's why they're on this list. So we go down through this list of volume. We get down to PDai, right? Here's PDai. That's why PDai is on the Titan list, right? PDai 315k volume. And the price is not really moving around. It's down 22.5%. And the price is sitting still at 1,200, right? 1,200 for a penny. Hasn't really moved too much, right? So if we look at PDai, hasn't really moved too much, but it is contributing, right? We can't argue about that. I'd rather it either do something special, which we've looked at for a couple of times. I think it's at least 3 attempts to become something, or do nothing. But the thing is, it's got a community, and the community is pretty passionate. And it's got some influences, right? So it has some mechanisms. It's also got utility support by third-party apps, including Liberty Swap, etc. So it still has its thing, and there's probably some bot activity and all the rest of it on it. So this is where it's at right now. So if we go to, let me just go to price, and let me go to the weekly chart just to go show you the thing. It's got a violent chart. I mean, it's had a pretty violent chart. Look at that, boom, boom. And a lot of these violent charts are related to typically exploits or projects like BetterBank, PMaker exploits, all that stuff with the UXDX team. XUSD team, XUSD team. I always get the wrong X around the wrong way. XUSD team, etc. So you can all these violent things in the chart, all related to some of those attempts or exploits, failed attempts to get things going with Maker or Balancer. Some of the compound, all these other theories around the PDai to $1, and of course Betterbank, which was probably the best attempt. Probably the best attempt. I mean, it had about $35 million in TVL and then just got wrecked, right? With the mistakes that were made, so or exploits, depending on which conspiracy school you're in, right? So it's all the way down here now, and it's pretty much stuck down. But saying that, it's still contributing to volume, right? So it's still one of the titans. You can't. It's just the way it is. The volume is really, sets the standard for what is volume, right? So. And as I showed you, that's why it's on the Titan list, right? So if we go to the 24-hour volume, based on coin pulse list numbers, right? So I'm going off these. This is what we've got in volume. So we've got the rigid cores, makes sense. That makes sense. Obviously, wrapped ETH makes sense. People going into wrapped ETH and all the time. And then, of course, we got PDai there. We got EHEX, of course. EHEX in there. I mean, it plays its role, right? EHEX from Ethereum. Just one of the Richard cores. I know it's the OG. It's the one that did the 10,000x, but of course now it's the ugly duckling of the family. I don't know, but is it really ugly? Is it really ugly? It's done pretty well in its ratio, I think, over the last sort of 2 months. Obviously, recently, last week, it's been a bit poor. But is it really the ugly duckling? I don't know. We'll see. But lots of reasons why it could do very well in the future. That's another topic. And then we get down to PCock, right? So PCock is here. PCock's doing about 131K at the moment. It seems to have found a bit of a floor on here. And of course, that matches pretty well with some of the targets that I had. I had 14.4 for it, so 13.6. But of course, PRVX was, a big influence on dragging it down below that target. But that's kind of where we are. And so those are what I have. And these are all over 100K. So all these ones are all over 100K. That's what was the basis of the Titan list here. And so you've got PRVX, PCock, Hex, PDC, PDai, PulseX, and Inc. Now they're all supported by third-party protocols, particularly obviously PulseChain. But PDai is the only one really that doesn't have intrinsic value at the moment, in my view. So, but like I said, it has other bullish attributes. In other words, a large community and influencers supporting it, right? Particularly Somi, one of the biggest ones, right? So yeah, that's a pretty big deal there. So that is some of the stuff there. I hope you guys have found that interesting. The Battle of the Titans, right? And the Battle of the Titans has really been stepped up, because before it was kind of just business as usual between the cores. We had a couple of big projects like PCock, which is supported by Liberty Swap, obviously the Kraken ecosystem, and that system is going to be, you can imagine Liberty Swap by the end of the year, they kept their roadmap. It's going to be a massive protocol, not just on PulseChain, but across all chains. And apparently they've come up with a concept around unified liquidity. That's just going to be another big thing. They've teased about, obviously, got the wallet coming up next, and that's going to be a big deal. I think a wallet would be very attractive. I think people are going to really get excited about that, particularly privacy. Normal wallet, which as I understand, it hasn't been done with the ZK technology, and so, and they're going to have an airdrop for that too. So I think it's going to be a big deal. Obviously, we've got. We've also got, what was the other one that we had? We also got the PDC. PDC is showing itself, we're a really maturing community. You got to argue, really talk common sense, really makes a lot of sense. They're really trying to get things together. They're always upgrading their websites. They're making it easy for people to onboard. They are doing their referral program now, which I think has been pretty successful. They're really pushing value there. They got big influencers, I said, Ingen Heinisch, B-Roots. They can be shillers, they can be shillers too, but you got really sensible people like Prairie Banana out there doing really great analytical portfolio management stuff, which is pretty cool, and a lot of other people in the community, right? So very mature. That's what I like to see. I like to see more of that kind of stuff. Then you've still got your DG and PDai community. No real intrinsic value there at the moment. Now, could be a protocol comes and PDai gets resurrected to $1, or at least heads towards there. But both so far, I think the best price it's got to is 3 cents. I mean, it's a long way off. And the problem is, when you have a very degenerate community behind it, you get them dumping. They just dump. They'll be dumping. Whereas I think the PDC community has at least got a better chance that they're diamond hand much longer than the other ones here, and of course they growing in a community. So it's an interesting dichotomy there. And it's probably good having both of them, right? It's probably good having PDC or with this mature approach, and then PDai with this degenic approach. When I say degens approach, this wild, crazy community. And so it's kind of cool having those two contrasts. And then you got the battle of the titans, the battle between these two. Which approach is kind of better? And so we're going to watch that evolve. So even though I'm making criticism, I'm trying to be objective about it, and I'm excited about where these two will go. But I myself would much rather the mature approach, because I want to see PulseChain mature more. And that doesn't mean that I don't want all the pump and dumpers and the things. That's all part of crypto, and that's just the way it goes. And it's great to have those too, because it gives. Some people like that stuff, right? They like the casino, the gambling kind of thing for those. And it includes pump tires, right? Pump tires too. So those are kind of the backdrop there. I hope you guys have enjoyed sort of this perspective or view of the Battle of the Titans. PRVX is certainly going to cause, I think it's just starting up. So it's definitely going to cause some interesting things there. And of course, going from beta with the technology, potential marketing, these could really drive it home. If it brings in net capital, there may be this swing back and forth, this rotation, which has been pretty violent. Will actually have a net benefit as well. So not only will Richard Hart get the glory out of that, but then the PulseChain cause also get lifted as well. We'll see in time. And of course, if we get the rest of the stuff I talked about with the crypto majors moving, then that's going to pull all this value in. Michael Saylor, Tom Lee bring all this value, and then of course they'll end up pumping these things, right? So that's kind of the play there. What else? We got some comments in here, so let me got some of these comments here. We're up to an hour and 35 minutes. I can't believe I'm talking this long, but it's a big topic, right? It's a big topic. What else there? So look there. We're coming back to PRVX, so we've got the PRVX chart here, so we'll come back to that. So that's kind of Battle of the Titans. Hopefully that's kind of just a nice general overview of that discussion. Obviously you can go into a lot more in depth, but it's early days, so we're going to look at it here. At the moment, we've got the price at 4.098. It'll just be under the base sacrifice price there, and the market cap 125 mil, which is doing pretty well, I think. That's the thing that's doing pretty well there. So let's see here. What do we got there? Hopefully a W forming on the hourly. So if we go back to the hourly there, a W, what does look like very much like a W forming, right? So we come back up to this 1,050, and then away it goes. Certainly looking a little bit more promising. If you had a lower low coming in, yeah, that's looking real bad, right? But it is looking fairly robust here. Now, the other thing is, Richard Hart, when this volume came in, Richard Hart put out a post, remember that? And indicating that he's really possibly the market maker there, because volume came out of nowhere and just came in, and he posted about it. So, we always try to see whether Richard Hart is going to be market making that, and so he could market make it this again, right? Maybe it comes up to this 1,000 again, and he market makes it up to the top there, and a second parabolic happens. That being said, it's not that old. It's only 6 days old. So how frequent is he going to do the parabolics? Maybe we should go back to the Hex chart and have a look at what that frequency was for parabolics. I thought we used to do the numbers, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Was it a month, every 3 weeks or something? Can't remember, but interesting timing there. Maybe the structure of the chart determines the timing of the market makers or market maker. But hasn't got all his own. Apparently, the second biggest wallet is setting up the PDai pair, right? And that was someone said that was the top. That was the top, and so down we came, right? But anyway, we have got a little bit of light happening here. So this is another decision point here for the chart. And if this W kind of plays at high or low, then onwards and upwards, and maybe it gets into a consolidation channel as well. It's another alternative. Decent reset on the RSI as well. Yeah, the RSI there on the hourly coming down. 4 hourly is only just below the 50, and of course daily we don't have one yet. We haven't printed one yet. So 4 hourly is a trader's view. It's like the trader's chart, and that's the closest real view that we have, I think. Brendan says could be a stretch though, cause it's a low volume frame. Yeah, that's right. Hex down under, our bags are loaded. Wish everyone gains. Yeah, well, that's the other side of things right now, right? So if we go back to GoPulse, because it's got a nice little summary, right? GoPulse, we can actually see, you're picking up a ton of Hex, right? You're picking up a ton of PulseChain cores, Now, the fear would be that they keep getting rotated, like I said, back and forth in the PRVX, and this dance. And so far, the PulseChain cores are not looking too happy with it, right? With the effect. But the worst case scenario is actually two things. One thing, the worst one is capital, PRVX capital leaving. These big sacrifices constantly leave, sell down, and then of course leave the chain. That's the worst case scenario. We want the opposite to happen. We want the PRVX to draw in capital through green candles and maybe diamond hands. But it is what it is. We know what sacrifices do. Once they get some decent X's, they take their money and run often. So we'll see. That's interesting about PDai volume with how small liquidity pairs it has as well, says Brennan. Yeah. I'm just reading their volume as is here on the PulseCoin list. So I haven't checked any of the pairs, but I'm assuming they're all correct. All right. What else? Got to have a moon bag of PDai. You never know, says Brennan. Well, that's true. Well, like I say, it is on the list. It's on the list there with the old Titans. So I'm not discounting it because it does have its own catalyst of a large committed but crazy community, and SOMI and other influencers there supporting it. So that is that. So that's kind of where we are right now on Battle of the Krakens. And is PRVX the one to rule them all? That's the thing. Is PRVX the one to rule them all? Obviously, we have counter views where other people say, well, actually, no, the PulseChain cores are the ones because obviously, they already have proven technology. That's the difference, right? PRVX is new, it's in beta. PDai doesn't really have an underlying intrinsic core protocol. PCock has Liberty Swap, so that's kind of tied together through commitment as opposed to immutable code. And then we have Hex, which is a CD. We have pTGC, which is a DAO. We have PulseX, which is a DEX, and we have Incentive there. So Incentive is probably the closest thing to PDai right now. It has potential future intrinsic value potentially through the DAO, through the Master Chef contract, where that ever gets activated. Other use there. So we'll see. Now, the other thing, of course, that we haven't talked about is scenarios, and scenarios could be that Richard, uses all these coins, all the Richard cores, as well as PRVX, to sacrifice for a wallet or stake in a wallet, use collateral for a stable coin or something like that. So there's lots of different things that Richard could do in chess moves that lift the chain quite significantly. So we'll keep a lookout for all those, and it's worth mentioning them, right? PRVX has a small amount of holders relatively. I like that, says Brendan. Yeah, well, that's the other side of things, right? Well, the holders have actually climbed a lot, right? So we were at 7,500 wallets, if I remember rightly, at the beginning. And let's have a look what we are now. Richard has the ability to add a lot of wallets, and that's a structural uplift for the price. So I'd agree. So we're up to 12,000 now, guys. Wow. So we're not 2x yet, but we're only in day 7? Day 7, I think we are. So just started that. So yeah, pretty amazing. Almost at 12,000 wallets. So I think we're 75. So what's that? 4,500 wallets. So pretty impressive. So that's also a structural uplift. That's a bullish catalyst to the upside, let alone the market maker out there. And there will be a lot of sacrifices that will say, hey, I don't want a 2-3x, man. I want a 10, I want a 50x, I want a 100x. It'll be those guys too. But all you need is the big guys. The big guys are the ones that really matter. And they say, oh, I got a 5x, I'm gone. These are the guys you got to pay out. And they can take a lot of capital with them. So, but we get a lot of rotation, then you got a lot of funding of that capital, get a lot of new wallets, you're funding that with a lot of distribution, it can help put the price up. You've got those offsetting, and up it goes. So early days. I would like to see some pretty big marketing from Richard when he goes live, not outside the beta, when he goes, essentially commercial that. And we know out of these teams, we know that Liberty Swap is what the PCock's going to be adopting the technology. So using it as part of their privacy suite, I guess. All right, so we're up to an hour and 42 minutes. Who made this live stream that long, guys? Who made it that long? Because I was only going to do an hour, for goodness sake. An hour here is hour 42 minutes. What the heck? That's crazy. All right, Battle of the Titans. Liquidity. We're doing about $6 million. We need some capital. We need some lift. We need some volume increase. We need some bots. We need some bots. We're in the intelligence age after all. So that's kind of the play on those ones. Hope you guys have enjoyed the show. It's been a lot of fun. And at the moment, we've got the top movers are PDC the Greys, aren't they? I think it is. PDC making a strong move, and they've done it a few times. So they're definitely moving strong and fighting back there in the battle of the Titans. PCock might make a move. It sort of seems to have found its bottom. And so we'll see how that goes amongst the Titans. PDai there just holding pretty flat at that 1200th of penny mark. The other big blue chips, which are not on the Titan list, right? Because they're not doing the volume. They're not getting the love, and that's because PulseChain is down so much, right? PulseChain is down so much. The vouchers of the world, the DEX, 9mm of the world. 9mm is giving like 20k and dividends every week, but every month I should say. But just the volumes are not there, and they're just not getting priced up, right? So the other blue chips are Vouch, 9mm, Liquidity Forks, not getting the love because PulseChain is down so much. Even pump tires, probably not getting too much love there as well, down there as well. So that probably explains a lot of things happening on the chain. A few of the farms are getting a little bit of love, Emmett Farms, True Farms, because they're doing a lot of activity. But other than that, that's kind of where PulseChain is. And that, my friends, is the final chapter. No, it's not the final chapter. That's just today, where we are today. It's kind of interesting, right? Kind of interesting. Brennan says, cheers, super, up the Knights. Yeah, all the best for the game. That's today, isn't it? Today? Wookiees Wires will fall to the sword. Yeah. Well, they're number 2 and you're number 4, right? So it will be hilarious if the Knights win and the Warriors lose and you swap positions. That's what I'm looking forward to. Post something in Discord if that's the case, because I would love to have a laugh. I really would. and maybe a turn about the room. All right, take care, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. We're on 3 YouTube channels. Don't forget to follow on X. It really helps a lot with the algorithm there. And look forward to more great content. We are dropping the alpha on the show constantly. So if you want to get the extra alpha, though, jump in the Strategy Club. The QR code's there to join up through the Whoop store. Just over $1 a day. Fantastic value. Get all the secret sauce in there. And also where you can find the links in the video description on YouTube, as well as through the Join Strategy Club link there on X. And that's the way to do it. All right, take care. It's an hour and 45 minutes. I got to go. All right, bye for now. And hey, look, it's fun times, opportunities everywhere for DCAing and lowering the volume, accumulating volume, all that sort of stuff. Pick well. All right, take care. Bye for now. See you tomorrow.